Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. Today's Do You Know question is, do you know how different religious traditions calculate time? As we experience the change in seasons and the shifting of time, it's important to realize that the various religious traditions calculate times differently. So our focus here today will be on the three monotheistic religions, namely Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and how they calculate time. So we will begin with Judaism. Judaism essentially is a religion that calculates time starting with the beginning of creation. In other words, for them, the whole focus of time is the created world that God has created, and they calculate their year based on the biblical numbers in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Scriptures, and they calculate it and they go back all the way to the beginning of creation. So creation is a significant portion in the calculating of time for Jews and for the whole Jewish faith, and that God is actually the one who is significant in the whole created reality, and therefore they want to highlight every year. Every year is focused on God's creation. And therefore, the new year will always begin with the calculated amount of time from the beginning of creation to now. Currently, in the year 2020-2021, beginning September 5th of the year 2020, the Jewish New Year will be 5781. With the additions of the letter AM, meaning Anno Mundi, the Latin term Anno Mundi, meaning from the year of the world, or the year of the world, meaning that they calculate time from the very first moment of creation all the way to now. Now they know that this is not the actual length of years since the beginning of creation, but it is the biblical notion, and that is how they configure their calculation of time. It's really interesting also to realize that the Jewish New Year will always begin in the fall. And the reason for that is because in tracing the story back to the beginning of creation, God told Adam and Eve that they were free to eat of all the fruit that was in the garden, from the trees in the garden. Therefore, the fruit must have been ready to eat, and therefore it had to be harvest time, and therefore the Jewish New Year always begins in the fall. The other interesting thing to note about the Jewish calendar and the Jewish time frame is that it is a combination of a lunar and solar calendar, so that each year is 11 and a half days shorter than the other, and so every 3 years they essentially lose a month. And since the Torah claims that Passover has to be in the spring and Sukkot, the harvest festival, has to be in the fall, therefore every 3 years they add a month in order to maintain the solar notion and maintain the feasts and celebrations at the time that they should be during the year. So that is how Judaism calculates time. With regards to Christianity, since the birth of Christ and the sanctification of time by Christ, therefore Christians always separate time from the beginning of the birth of Christ. Namely, the years that Christ, from the time that Christ was born to the present, are the years that are referred to as the Anno Domini, year of the Lord. And therefore time is calculated from the birth of Christ all the way up to the present. Namely, we are in the year 2020. Next year will be 2021. And so the years before Christ are calculated again based on the birth of Christ. So they're calculated backwards, BC, before Christ. So they're calculated backwards from the birth of Christ to the backward to the beginning of time. By the way, Christianity is also a very strictly solar calendar, except for the calculation of the date for Easter. It's still based on a lunar calendar calculation. Now, when it comes to Islam, we have Islam is the religion practiced by Muslims.
We all know that Muhammad was born in the year 570, and roughly when he was 40 years old, roughly about the year 610, he started receiving revelations from God about the oneness of God. And he began to preach and proclaim that to the Meccans in the city where he was living, the city of Mecca. Many of the Meccans refused to believe in him because they were very much into polytheistic, worshiping many gods and goddesses. And Muhammad was proclaiming belief in one God and getting rid of all the rest. And it was affecting their economic base so much, especially pilgrimages and so on. So Muhammad saw the place where he could be, he and his followers could be safe from all that, the oppression and the persecution from the Meccans, and they finally found a place in Yathrib, which is about 250 miles north of Mecca, and they were welcomed there. And the year 622, they moved from Mecca to Yathrib, which soon came to be known as Medina. And that year marks year 1 in the Muslim calendar, the year 622. And so the numbers of the year, the Muslim calendar are determined from the Hijra, that emigration from Mecca to Medina. And to this very day, the Muslim calendar is calculated still on that Hijra to Medina.
And so this year, 2020, 2021, will be year 1442.
With the letters A-H, meaning Anno Hegirae, the year of the Hijra, or the emigration to Medina. By the way, the Muslim strictly lunar calendar, therefore all their months, all the years are 11 and a half days shorter than the previous one, and so all the months move around and so on. They do not, like Jews, they do not adjust the calendar every 3 years, but so the months move around. So a very strict lunar calendar. So I hope this has helped a bit to understand the diversity and the complexity that exists in the way the various religious traditions calculate time. And we should respect and honor one another's differences and see the insight into those calculations of time based on religious beliefs and practices. So I hope this has helped to explain that, and I hope you will return again to more Do You Know series questions to increase your knowledge about our faith and our various religious traditions. Thank you very much.